Grady Powell, host of Forged in Fire.
Kyle Mann.
I'm J. Warner Wallace.
Kira Davis.
It's Ben Abbott.
Hey, this is Dave Baker.
Carrie Pomeroli.
This is Mike Reiner.
This is Ethan Nicole.
This is Liam Morgan.
It's Dan Parker, the 5th GP, and this is why you should never.
Never.
How I got suckered in.
I'm so embarrassed that I'm here.
You're wasting your time. You got better things to do. Never listen.
Those darling, yummy Reverend and the Reprobate.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Reverend and the Reprobate. I am Lucas Pinkerton, actual pastor, and we'll be playing the part of the Reverend today. As always, with me, you know what? I can't actually say that anymore. As most of the time is with me, because he did miss an episode and was so sad.
I was here for most of it.
It's hey, Big Dan, what's up, the Reprobate?
Yeah. I started a new job, but I missed one episode, and now we got to change our intro.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, welcome to
I'm
the
doing
Reverend
good. I'm
and
doing
some
good.
reprobates. This is...
Mostly reprobate.
Yeah, mostly reprobate.
Mostly reprobatic.
So today we've got on the show Forged in Fire judge, the 9-time champ,
Yeah, he's so cool.
the Unbeaten Ben Abbott.
Yeah.
It's an absolute blast.
He tells us his history of getting into bladesmithing.
Yep.
He literally has a life story similar to the Pirates of the Caribbean. I chicken out on answering a question.
Let's see what else.
I was going to ask him, what would you call a sword made out of ex-wife/girlfriend earrings?
Yeah, and you didn't go
and
there.
I didn't ask.
He talks to us about what it was like going up on the 5 straight episodes of Beat the Unbeaten, how he was not in the production meetings. He
And if
got
there's gonna be
totally
a-
removed from it.
And if there's going to be a new title moving forward, since he cannot be beaten.
Yeah, it's
You cannot beat the
Yeah.
Unbeaten.
Forged in Fire, you lose with Ben Abbott. Ben in Controlled Rowdiness Ben talks to us about his favorite swords and what flavor sheath he would make for a
sassy pirate.
Sassy pirate. If a sassy pirate came to him and said, "Hey, I need a sword with a flavored sheath," what flavor sheath would he make for him?
And also, we have a quick cameo of one of our Forged in Fire friends.
Yeah, this is true. All that and next on the Reverend and the Reprobate with Ben Abbott. You make sure
with
that you
Will Turner.
like, subscribe. Yeah, that was his name, Bill Turner. So like, subscribe, ding the little bell. If you're listening on
Dingle
our audio
bells,
formats,
dingle bells.
if you're listening on our audio formats, make sure that you give us a review so that we can know what you think about the show, what things we can do to make it better for
the
you,
swords are made
the
from
listener.
Ben, and they never ever lose.
Without any further ado, Ben Abbott. Big expo on our airwaves today.
Oh, we got a good show.
We have the champ. The 9-time Forged in Fire champion.
That we know of currently.
Yeah, it is truly the man, the myth, the legend who built his first sword for $10,000. It's
bad.
Ben
Only went down from there.
Yeah, Ben freaking Abbott. What's going on, man? How are you?
Oh, not much, man. Doing great.
So,
Yeah, we're just finishing up filming this season, and so we're just on the downhill last couple of days.
nice. So is that why we're treated to this lovely wood paneling that you have in the background?
Yes, this is my this is behind the scenes. This is my trailer
Nice.
where I have a little workbench there where I do some stuff while I'm not filming, and then the rest is good old-fashioned wood paneling.
Yeah, yours is so much neater than Dave's. Dave posts a lot of pictures of his trailer, and it seems like he's just got, like, my wife's grandmother is like this. Like, she's a lovely old lady, but there are, like, trails through her house, right? And it looks, it looks like that's how Dave lives whenever he's there. So it's encouraging to see that the English really are tidier.
Well, to be honest, I have been cleaning a
Oh,
little bit, so there's some tools in the old box of Rooney down there.
yeah, that looks like a
So those
spanner
were
wrench.
all around.
How many cats does Dave have in his trailer?
Living ones, none.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Not only are you an excellent swordsmith, but you are a very funny man.
Yeah,
Sure.
you've got sharp wit.
Ooh.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, I see what you did there.
So
Nasty pun.
we haven't had you on in a while. You were gracious to come on with us with Grady and Dave, and we had a ton of fun. Then we got to watch basically like half a season that was all about one of two things: either that nobody can beat Ben Abbott in a blade making competition, or B, number 2, that Forged in Fire decided they were going to save themselves $50,000 and just put bladesmiths up against Ben for the next 5 weeks. What was so first off, I want to know, like, what happened in the production meetings? Like, what's going on in the minds of your production crew where they're like, hey, do they pitch that idea to you? Are you in on it whenever they're coming up with this? Like, how does that work?
No. Well, I mean, they pitched the idea to me after they were done pitching the idea to network.
Okay.
And then they said, hey, you know, we're thinking, it's in the early stages, we're thinking about doing this competition where you'll come in and people will just try to come and beat you. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever. And
I've beat 8 of them before. I'll keep doing it. We're not 8.
yeah, but what's fun is, it's like you would imagine that we're all sitting around a big table and we're all spitballing and discussing things. That's not how it happens. We sit in the trailer until we're told what to do, and then then we do it. But yeah, so they said, you want to do it? And I was all excited. So then they went back and I started planning it. But sort of almost right then, I was treated as a contestant. I wasn't really in on the planning. I wasn't in on the planning or the weapon selection or material selection like I usually am on the show.
Right.
I usually help out with that kind of stuff. They're like, we're thinking about using titanium and aluminum foil. Well, you can't do that. So whatever. So, but
Can you make one out of dirt?
Yeah. I've made iron out of dirt.
The Lord made humans out of clay. What can you make?
Out of dirt? Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I have. It's funny.
Just starts destroying his set.
I took 50 pounds of iron ore that I bought from a clay company, just magnetite black iron sand, and I poured it into this huge sort of quasi-ceramic cylinder that I made with charcoal and iron ore and charcoal, and I smelted it out. And after about 6 hours of doing that, burning the hell out of my pants and legs and everything, I got this piece of iron.
Wow.
Man.
Yeah, it's tiny. Usually you got wood like this big.
Yeah.
But now I got this.
So
why is that? What was the difference? Because it started with...
The way you do it, you have to blow air into the tube at an angle, and sort of what happened almost immediately is that the iron ore I put in there globbed up the end of the air tube, and it was just it became like a backyard charcoal at that point. It wasn't, I mean, a grill.
Except not as tasty.
So
yeah.
How big a knife can you make out of that billet that you just showed us?
Good question.
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
Thank you.
If I were to make a knife out of this is wrought iron, so it's really soft. So what I'd really like to do is inset a piece of steel to make the blade.
Gotcha.
The blade edge. So if I were to do that, I could make a chef's knife kind of fighting knife kind of thing.
And since that's wrought iron, he might go with the sanmai technique.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
A senpai technique?
No, he just like pulled a knife. Here's a giant knife that I have just sitting in this box. Like that's gotta
like something you and your brothers would do.
Yeah, but that's like one of the greatest things about having these guys on is that like even your trailers are like big playgrounds.
Watch out for the door. There's an axe over it.
Yeah, like that's amazing.
Yeah, totally.
So what is that you just showed us?
Oh, this is a piece of woot steel that a friend of mine has been making lately. He gave me a pice, and I wanted to see what I can make out of it. So it's not finished yet. It's pretty roughly ground.
And it's
kind of like a Persian dagger kind of thing.
It looks like Legolas's blades from Lord of the Rings,
or something that the Prince of Persia would use while running along a wall.
What'd you say?
Exactly.
What kind of steel is that? A woot steel?
Woots, yeah, it's a crucible steel that has these really interesting iron dendrites, and when you etch it, it has a really cool pattern. It's what they used to call Damascus, because they thought it came from Damascus, Syria, and then now it's a very confusing term. People use Damascus for wood steel, and people use it for pattern welded steel, like we do on the show.
Right.
So, I mean, it's
so is that more of a true Damascus?
Because some people would emphatically say yes.
What does Ben Abbott emphatically say?
It depends. It's the metallurgist response.
Okay, well there you go.
Yeah, I mean, because it's supposedly it's older, and people but I don't know that any of that's true. It's all depends on who you listen
Well,
to.
what
But I
would
think
a-
it's a phenomenal stuff, and it was kind of reinvented in the like the 90s by Dr. Verhoeven and a couple other guys, and it's neat stuff. I have yet to make it meet its full potential.
Well,
We know all about Dr. Verhoeven. That's a guy
Verhoeven.
we're really familiar with. We
Yeah, I think
werewolf.
he was on last week, wasn't he?
yeah, he's on our list of people to interview, Dr. Verhoeven. We're going to do him, and then we're
mean-
going to do Dr. Robotnik right afterwards.
I mean,
Nice.
let's do that.
yeah, we'll have to.
Well, as a fan favorite, you have been, like we mentioned. Hi, 9.
Hey, Grady.
Yeah, hey, Grady.
What's that, dude?
Hey, Grady Powell.
As a 9-time champion, you're definitely a fan favorite. Your background and how you got into swordsmithing or smithing, and I'm not sure how you'd say it.
Yeah.
Is really interesting that you wanted to, and I'd love to hear your story. But it seems like you started at a young age of wanting to try it, weren't able to with swords. So I'd love to hear about you getting bit by the sword bug. Is that right? Good
Oh,
Yeah, sure. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, swords. First one I ever tried to make. I was working at a old village restoration, kind of like Colonial Williamsburg, but it's this little one here on Long Island called Old Bethpage Village Restoration, and I decided I wanted to go and apprentice with the blacksmith there. So I was like, I don't know, 12 or 13 or something. So I would go on Sunday and I'd spend like 2 hours in the blacksmith shop, and I would hit steel every now and then, and that was the day. But one thing that I remember being notable is he really did not want me to make knives. He wasn't a knife maker. He was a blacksmith, didn't want anything to do with knife making. So every now and then I'd try to sneak it in there and like start working on a knife. He's like, what are you doing? We don't do that here. I'm like, I just want to make knives. I'm like, why are we blacksmithing if we can't make knives? So I remember the very last day that I was there, I grabbed a bar of mild steel, and he was out that day, and so I just banged it into a sword-y shaped thing, and I remember like tucking it behind the building until the day was over, then squirreling it out to my car. But yeah, that was the first sword type thing I ever made, but it wasn't worth it. Anything.
So basically, it's the plot of Pirates of the Caribbean where Will, what's his name? What's the guy's name that makes the swords? Then he becomes a pirate. That he can only make swords whenever his guy is not there or drunk.
Right.
Asleep.
Yeah, basically.
So basically, your Will, whatever his name is. What's his name?
Orlando Bloom.
No, Will. What's the character's name?
Now we're going to go with Orlando
Okay,
Bloom.
Orlando Bloom.
Orlando Bloom.
That's the second reference to Orlando Bloom. You made Legolas.
Yeah, Legolas.
There
Look
you
at
go.
him.
Yeah.
It's the most appearances Orlando's
You
made
just
on
need
our
to
show.
dye your hair blonde, and you're good to go. Oh, that's for all the
Yeah, he can borrow some of mine.
Moving on.
Cool.
So
That wasn't a question. It was just an observation.
Yeah, it's just bad observations. So you start blacksmithing with this kind of colonial Williamsburg kind of thing. You end up with a mild steel sword, which
Slash Tortuga.
yeah, those of us who have watched the show, we know you don't cut with mild steel. And if you make if your blade edge has mild steel on it, you know what you're going home after the first round because that is not how we do it.
Nope.
So
How we roll here.
not at all. So how do you go from okay, I made a mild steel sword. Also, do you still have that first?
No. Actually, I finished it up and sold
R-
it with full disclosure that it was a wall hanger
Decorative.
on
Yeah.
a real sword. But I put a hilt on it and finished it out.
Yeah, and that's going to be on auction on eBay now. Is
It
Ben
will-
Abbott's
Oh, yeah.
first actual sword?
This will not cut.
Ben Abbott has sold swords to a show for $10,000. This one is worth at least $50,000.
As the first one?
Yeah, like Davey 504, right? He just got like $100,000 for his base. So
Yeah.
that's how you got started. How do you shift from that into bladesmithing? As your time with Colonial Long Island comes to an end, how do you continue practicing
well,
this?
On the side, I built my own forge. So I took a galvanized steel bucket, filled it with Kingsford charcoal, and found a hair dryer and blew hair up underneath it through a tube. And then that made a very concentrated, very hot forge. And I started grabbing all like leaf springs and stuff, anything I could find, and started working with that. And then I ruined a lot of steel because I didn't know you couldn't water quench back then. I didn't know much about
Right.
it. There weren't any people around that I knew other than the starchy old blacksmith that didn't want to make blades. So I had to kind of figure it out. And then I went to college the first time up in New York, in Binghamton, and I did a studio art minor where I kind of brought blacksmithing into the minor a little bit because they had this weird looking big propane forge. So I just kind of tried my hand at it like that. That went on for a little while, and then pretty much when I moved to California is when I really started in earnest, because I had a real day job and I could afford some tools, and I just built it up and just started really working at it. That was about 2000 where I really started working.
Okay, so
really hard.
You did a minor in studio art?
Yeah.
So-
My first degree was anthropology with a studio art minor,
Okay.
while all the time being pre-med.
This
a lot. That's a
this
lot of, there's a
didn't
lot
make
of
it onto
words.
your History Channel bio.
That's a lot of
right
words
here.
Oh
that you
no,
said.
I
Yeah.
got to keep some secrets for you guys, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Did
So-
swords go into any of that?
I made some knives.
And like in
that
studio
art.
design, did you use a
Yeah.
sword to design the studio? That's a stupid question. Stupid question.
Okay, so let's just go
I'm
over it.
having some technical issues at this end.
Yeah, no, so are we, and it's the neurons in our brains aren't firing properly. Those are technical issues.
Is it me being a crotch again?
So, okay, you're pre-med studying anthropology with a studio art degree. So you're like just like attempting to be a Renaissance man. What's happening here?
I was trying to be a doctor,
Okay.
really, and my school at Binghamton didn't have a pre-med degree, so you had to major in something else. And I was like, well, anthropology is interesting. I could probably
Right.
get good grades in it. They don't have any classes before 1:00 in the afternoon, so I'm in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a must.
Score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I started liking. I took an art class and enjoyed it, so I took some more art classes, and so then I got to design my own class, which was the metalwork class that I did. And
That's super
so that's
cool.
kind of how that all got tied together.
Okay, so you took these art classes, which got you interested in studio art. Like, what kind of mediums were you using? Were you painting? Were you sculpting?
Sculpture, mostly sculpture. There was a wood sculpture class, a regular old human figure clay class,
Right.
that kind of stuff. But it was only a minor, so I didn't have to take a lot. It was like a class or two every semester or something like that.
Still, those are hard things to do.
Yeah.
That's incredibly impressive. So with your anthropology study, because that is for people that don't know, I'm about to butcher what anthropology is, but it's
It's the
basically like the
study
study of
of-
cultures, right?
Yeah, it's
Human
a study
history.
of cultural. So you can have cultural anthropologists that deal with human cultures from today. You can have material anthropologists that deal with like anything from obsidian flakes all the way up through like the 19th century found objects and stuff like that you can go through. And so yeah, I was just interested in all that. I took a lot of classes on ancient humans and just all sorts of just all over the map, really. I didn't have a very solid core of understanding. I just kind of took what I found interesting within the major enough to get the degree.
So has that, like, you're studying anthropology, has that helped with the stuff that you've done on the show as you've like studied different cultures and looked at things like that? Or is it just something that, was a fascination and now, is something that's in the back of your mind but doesn't really affect the work that you're doing today?
Well, I mean, it helped me in two ways. One, like you say, it did give me an exposure to a lot of different cultures and material culture in particular, weapons and everything that you carry on your person and have in your house, from pots and pans to whatever, knives and whatever. But more impactful, I think, was the fact that in my course of study, anthropology was essentially a pre-bartending degree. And once you graduate and get a bartending job, then you learn how to multitask, run around. You can stay 8 hours on the floor without having to pee, all that good stuff.
You get the life lessons,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the
totally.
life experience.
That's
I agree.
crazy.
I think Waffle House is a great place to learn life.
I was at Ruby Tuesday, but same idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
All right,
Yeah, they
well-
don't serve booze at Waffle House.
No,
just,
no, they don't.
just really good bacon.
Yeah, that's true. And they have that whole like secret menu of smothered and covered and all of that stuff that you gotta figure out.
But I digress.
Yeah, how did you?
I don't know.
Unbelievable.
I think. Never mind.
Okay, so you.
That's a good point.
You go from New York, you end up in California, and that's when you're able to actually buy your tools and to start smithing. How do you end up on the show for the first time?
So I was at that point I had done a lot of blacksmithing and bladesmithing, but a lot of sculptural blacksmith, not sculptural, but like architectural blacksmithing.
Okay.
And tool making, stuff like that. Everything from tongs and hammers to gates and grills and everything else that you can do, alongside also making knives. So after a while, I started teaching at a little school in Los Angeles, and so I started teaching there, and then this is a blacksmithing school, not a school.
Yeah, not UCLA.
UC Irvine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's called Adam's Forge, and it's a really cool place. Anyone within 50 miles of travel time, so anyone within 20 miles of LA can go to this place and learn, and it's phenomenal. So I taught some classes there, and one of the directors came to me one day, or sent out an email to all the instructors and said, "Hey, Forged in Fire is now casting for season 2. You should think about putting your name in." So I was like, okay. So I put my name in. And, like the next day, I get a phone call. I'm at work at Caltech, and I get a phone call, and the producer's like, "Hey, do you want to, tell me a bit about yourself, blah, blah, blah." And so I told him and stuff. And then he's like, "Well, can you do a Zoom meeting tomorrow around lunchtime?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can do that." So I go home from work. I get all the background just right. I put like a lamp just here, so I get that like ring white eye stuff. And we chat for a minute. And then a couple of days go by, and I get a phone call. I'm like, "Right, you're in. You're going to fly in on this is such a date." And for me at that point, that was phenomenal. I was like, "What?"
Yeah, no
it's like
kidding.
winning the lottery for me. It was just, I'm going to be on TV.
and now you're on TV every week.
Yeah, it's still nuts.
Yeah, no kidding.
What do you think the secret sauce was from going from not having really successfully made a sword to you're getting a call, you put your name in a hat, and you are going on to compete? Were you anxious? Were you excited? You thought you were
Oh, super anxious. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I think that the thing that made me do well is that I've done a lot of knives at that point, and I have been paying a lot of attention to metallurgy, and so I knew how to make the steel perform in a sword. It's still first sword I've ever made, so it's probably tip heavy. It was probably overall too heavy. I didn't trust the steel back then, so I kind of probably overbuilt it. I haven't seen it since I did it. So somebody has it somewhere. Some producer has it on their wall somewhere. But
yeah, because you guys keep most of the swords that are made. They're in the background during the show. That's what the forge is now decorated with. Is with a lot of those. So you haven't seen that sword from season 2 since you made it.
No. But I do have the Claymore.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So now looking back at the Claymore, it's been a few years. How do you feel you did on it?
It's too heavy. It's beautiful.
Yeah, Claymore.
Yeah, I'm really, really proud of it, but I could take another pound off of it.
A pound.
Yeah. That's a bloody long blade.
Well, yeah, that's true. It is a bloody long blade.
It is. The Claymore is what William Wallace used, right? At least in the movie.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you trudge to the top of Sterling Tower, you can actually see it, or at least what they claim is the blade of William Wallace in the world's most narrow stairway. It is the most claustrophobic I've ever been in my entire life. Was trudging up there to see William Wallace's Claymore, and
but was it worth it?
It was, but there were a few. I could tell that they were American couples because they were rather large. That were like stopping. They would get up about halfway, and then they would need their emergency inhalers because they haven't walked that much stairs ever in their life. And so we were trying to have to like scoot around them, and so it became a bit of a gymnastics routine. But it was really cool. And it's a really impressive sword. Like how Dave has talked to us before about how like he's gotten the opportunity to go, especially with the Scottish basket hilt, which I'm so tired of hearing those
sucks.
words. Unbelievable.
Scottish basket hilt.
Ugh. So when you get to make something like a Claymore, like how many opportunities have you had, or have you had the opportunity, maybe be the better question, to like go and hold a historic claymore to compare like what you built to what the people would have actually used back in the time when it was a functioning weapon as part of the battlefield?
No, I haven't. I haven't held any claymores except for some that Dave has made, some that the contestants have made, and mine. I've made 2 now.
So do you look at Dave's claymores and you're like, my claymore's way better than this, and just put it back?
Dave's a master, man. He's so good. All of his swords have such great balance and weight to them that it's beautifully functional tools.
He is the best.
He's pretty awesome.
And man, that beard and his style.
But he's not champ.
In fact,
like Ben is.
In fact, you have bested Dave on.
No,
You didn't?
Oh
No,
no.
On record, yes.
Yeah.
Ben's record against other contestants is
That's
but I've
up in
never.
Dave's.
I mean, the only thing we ever did, Dave and I and Jay, was we did a take home, like at the very beginning of the pandemic. They gave us 2 weeks to film ourselves making stuff, but it wasn't a competition. It was just us making something.
So Jay Nielsen is an ABS mastersmith. You know, Dave has his kind of niche as the, historical weapons recreation specialist. Where do you see, like, obviously you've become a very accomplished bladesmith. You're got renowned all over the world now. Nobody can argue your skill. Is something like becoming a mastersmith something that you have a desire to do, is to get those certifications, or do you feel like you've kind of proven everything that that you wanted to prove, and now you're just enjoying it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's an interesting question. I've thought about it every now and then. Like, I actually did my journeyman smith test knife, that one where you got to chop stuff and then bend it 90 degrees and all
Right.
that. I did that. I passed that test a good number of years ago, but it's now it's not valid anymore. You have to do the next step within like 2 years of doing that.
Oh, okay.
So it's expired. So I mean, yeah, maybe sometime when I have time, I might think about it. But there are more organizations than the ABS, and I belong to a medieval recreation group, the Society for Creative Anachronism, and within that group, I am a mastersmith. I don't talk about it a lot because it's not commercially the same.
Right.
We can tend to just camp amongst ourselves and do our own thing, so it doesn't really. But there's, I would say, far fewer mastersmiths in an organization that spans all over the world, and there are hundreds of thousands of members, than there are mastersmiths in the ABS. But I mean, I'm honored to have that title. I just don't really talk about it.
Well, we would like to give you the title of Honorary Reverend and Reprobate Mastersmith. So
Yeah,
congratulations. Awesome. We've now
Unfortunately,
bequeathed that to you, and you are the first person to receive such a title.
Unfortunately, it's also good for 2 years.
Yes,
right.
so-
Just like
I'll
a
take
CPR
it.
certification in Texas.
Yeah, when the certificate comes, I'll put it up on the wall.
Perfect.
And then
You've got
after
it.
2 years, I'll burn it down.
Yep. We'll make sure that
you have to
whole
throw
trailer.
it into the forge.
Yeah. We'll make sure
Yeah.
that the matting for the certificate goes good with wood paneling to make sure it matches the motif that you've got going. So on the show, you get to you talked about how different it was, doing the Beat the Unbeaten shows, that you weren't in the production meetings, you weren't part of that at all. Was it weird moving back into kind of the middle ground of being a contestant, but you're not really a contestant, because I'm guessing you're still just hanging out in the trailer? Like, what was that experience like for you? Because it seems like it has you in an odd sort of limbo.
Yeah, well, I didn't hang out. Well, so in the first day of shooting, I would go and watch the two Smiths compete against each other, two
Right.
or three, whatever the number was. I forget.
Yeah.
It depended on the show. And so I'd watch up until the last 5 minutes.
Okay.
And then I'd go home. And then the other judges would do the testing and figure out who was going to go up against me. Then I would come back in the next morning, and we would do the second part where it's them versus me for 8 hours. And when I did that, I didn't come into this trailer. I went into the Smith's trailer. And so I was all sequestered and all by myself, just sitting there trying not to be nervous.
What? So they wouldn't even let you go back to your own trailer? You had to go to the Smith's trailer?
I was just Jenny from the block. I was just one of the Smiths.
Wow, that's why he's so bootylicious, is because he's just Jenny from the block.
Do you look as good in a pair of apple-bottom jeans?
I do not.
That's fair enough. Okay, so you end up in the spot. You're just like any other smith at that point. The competition now, though, is 8 hours long, which seems like a tremendous amount of time to spend in the forge. What was your experience like doing those competitions versus what it was like when you competed before?
Well, I mean, it was different because I know everybody on set, obviously. And
Right.
Like when I'm competing, I think one of the advantages it gave me is in the old days, if I needed a drill bit, I would just stop and raise my hand like I was asked to go to the bathroom, and then somebody would say something to somebody who'd go get somebody and came over and then asked me what the hell, and so then 5 minutes had gone by. But now I'm just like, hey Jay, I need a drill bit over here, and then Jay would come over. Not Jay Nielsen, a different,
Right. Yeah.
a different guy.
Jay
or
the
I'd be able to
plebe.
speak. I'd be able to speak directly to the director or the safety guy or whoever I needed to talk to. So that was cool. But so what they do a lot of times, it wasn't 8 hours dead straight because that would be ridiculous.
Right.
So it was 5 hours with an hour break and then 3 hours.
Okay.
And what you can do in that hour break is that you can have temper oven. The temper ovens were there on set. So
Right.
you can do anything you want during that hour. You just can't touch anything. So as long as your blade is in the temper oven, door shut, hit go, you can let it temper for the hour that you're having lunch.
Okay.
And so that's a huge strategic point, because you need to get that blade finished, quenched in the temper oven in 5 hours, and then you can take it out and start grinding and do the handle and do the rest of it. I mean, you work on the handle all the way along, but you can only you have to be quenched and ready for temper by that 5 hour mark. Otherwise, you're wasting your time with your blade in the temper oven while you're trying to work on other stuff, and then it becomes a loss. It's a strategic advantage to get it in during that time.
So part of I guess the thing that made the competition so authentic was that it was blind to the other judges. Like, they didn't get to know which sword was yours. So essentially what that leaves is you, the smith that you're competing against, and Grady in the room for 8 hours. And Grady just has to come up with everything on his own. Like, he's got to fill that space, with commentary. What was that like for you, listening to Grady try to come up with stuff for 8 hours to fill the dead air?
It was really cool, because especially the very first competition,
Right.
Brady was so excited. He was like a child. He's like, I can't you can see it.
I love that you
It's
rubbed your
awesome."
hands together.
Yeah, little Grady rub. And he and I are great friends, and it was
Right.
really fun to have him be there and watch it and see what's going on. First time he's ever seen me really work like that before, and it was awesome. It was really cool. And every now and then he'd come and ask a question or whatever, and do a little petite interview,
Right.
which was, and it's 8 hours straight, and again, he doesn't stand there the first competition he stood there 8 hours and stared to see what was going on,
Oh,
which
wow.
was really awesome. But then the next ones, he kind of would be there for an hour or two, and then go back to his trailer and take a nap, whatever, come back out, do some stuff, he'd break it up as well.
So was it difficult for you not to like banter with him whenever he was there and to stay focused on what you were doing? Or do you like kind of have tunnel vision when you forge?
Oh, yeah, no, I have tunnel vision. Like, he would interview me a couple of times, and I'd be like,
Yeah, get your green beret out of here. I got stuff to do.
Yeah, it was a great experience. It was really stressful, though. I'll be honest with you. That experience was really, it took a lot out of me.
So there's obviously the internet is full of people with questions about the show's authenticity, and those questions you guys have answered several times to say, we give out a cash prize. It is illegal for this competition not to be like completely based on merit. Like, all of this stuff has to happen the way that we said it does, or else the us giving out a cash prize is invalid. So that's not only a really impressive thing, but as your kind of legend builds, as the Beat the Unbeaten increases, and now you're on show 3 and you're on show 4, right? What is the contingency plan of, we got 5 of these in the tank. Did somebody say, okay, so what happens after show 3 if somebody beats Ben? Like, what do we do? Do we film the next 3 of these shows and like continue, and then we just make that the last episode, or what? Like, what are those talks like?
Well, again, I wasn't really in the room for any of the talks, but in general, we'll do competitions that have several contestants, and build up competitions, things like that. And yeah, I mean, we make, every time we say we're in the 3rd competition, we also say, this competition, like, so they've always got 2 ways of presenting it,
right,
so that they can change the order if they want to. But for me, I always thought that Beat the Unbeaten was a stupid name. I'll be honest. I mean, it was really dumb. And I get why they didn't want to call it Beat Ben Abbott, because they were afraid of me becoming like a huge diva or whatever.
Right.
But I already am. I don't understand.
I actually wrote down already a new segment in next season called "You Have No Chance Against Ben Abbott."
Against Ben Abbott, yeah.
It just named the thing. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So
never gonna happen.
Does that add pressure to you? And do they let you know, hey, we're doing 5 episodes like this, or is it each new week, or each week they're like, hey, we're doing this again, you better be successful? Like, what's that pressure like?
No, they said we're going to do 5 episodes. They have had it all written and ready to go. And it's a reality show. So written just means, what's the challenge? What's the, so what are the things that Grady's going to say? The welcome to the forge, blah, blah, blah. That stuff. So they've already had it all set up and ready to go. They said, we're going to do 5. It'll be the last 5 of this season. So, that's happening. And I said, okay. That's how that conversation went.
Of the swords that you've made, right, this competition had the most, I guess, was the closest is probably the best way to put it. And there was the most deliberation over the swords, because so many of the smiths that you were competing against, not only were they guys that you'd beaten in the past, or guys whose blades you've broken, or things like that. So, like, first off, before we get to like the intensity of the competition, what was that like going up against, those guys? And I know that there's a lot of respect between the smiths, but was there some banter back and forth about, some of that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, not a lot, just healthy sort of fun banter.
Right.
Yeah, especially because the last 2 shows where I went up against Brent and when I went up against Nicholas, those are both friends of mine that I've known for years. Brent I share a space with, and we work together shoulder to shoulder all the time. And so, like, I was really nervous because he's seen my tricks. He knows my stuff.
Yeah.
We just sit at lunch and chat about metallurgy, and there's not many mysteries for him. So then it just became, a full-on slog. How hard can I work, and how fast and efficiently can I get this done?
That's pretty awesome.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yep. So knowing that the judges hadn't seen your blade, right, and that you were being, compared merit for merit on everything, does that add an extra element of, kind of not just stress to it, but like the relational dynamic that goes into that? Because you are friends with these guys. Like, this isn't, you're being judged by your friends. That they're oftentimes, right, even as honest as we are with one another. Mm-hmm. If I see something wrong, or Danley sees something wrong, one of us will be like, hey, you should probably fix this, instead of being like, no, this sucked, right? It just kind of depends on that. So, like, what was that like, watching them, knowing that it was blind, for you in that situation?
Yeah, it was rough. I mean, I felt just the same as I ever did competing on the show. I didn't think that in any way that my friendship with the judges was going to influence anything.
Right.
As a matter of fact, sometimes I kind of thought about doing a little head fake and do something that isn't my style, And each of them have a different. They're all a different sword, right? They're different kinds of swords, so they each have their own style or whatever. But there are things that I've done several times, and things that and. Some of them, they picked the wrong one as being mine. So
really?
Like, afterwards, they're like, we kind of thought that was yours, or we thought the other one was yours, and that was kind of interesting.
So do you think that they maybe picked some because they were like, this is definitely not Ben's, and it was like, nope, that was Ben's sword, and they're like,
No. But it's funny is that some of the conspiracy theories I've heard about
Right.
like how the whole thing was rigged or whatever, and like they'll just say something completely wrong. I'm like, it's always the red anvil that wins. No, it's not. Like, there were 5 shows. Do the math. It wasn't always any anvil that won.
Yeah.
It wasn't anvil number 1. It wasn't like it didn't make a difference.
Right.
But yeah, so like I said to the guy, I'm like, look, if we wanted to cheat, do you think we would cheat so subtly as it's always this one? We're just like, Dave, pick this sword. Like, you can't do that. It's ridiculous.
The red anvil is a red herring.
Yeah, that's exactly
Yes,
right.
exactly.
Yeah, why take all the time to put it on a red anvil when you've got earpieces and somebody could be like, "Hey,
Yeah.
Dave, break that sword so Ben's can win."
Yeah.
Like there
totally.
is, and one of the things I think is interesting is you guys have talked at length about how difficult it is to test other smiths' weapons because you know that they put their heart and soul into it. You know how much effort they put into it, and then when you go and you break something or you bend something, like that pains you as much as it does the person that's seeing that happen.
I can imagine the sword looks so cool. You
Yeah.
don't want to hurt it.
Yeah.
Right, and then
Dave mentioned that. He's like, I don't want to take it and whack it against.
that's not what it's supposed
piece
to
of
do.
metal.
So
Sure.
when you're prepping for one of these shows, right, the Beat the Unbeaten, and I'm sure with and I don't know how much you can divulge to us about this upcoming season, but I'm sure with the success of that if we don't see it in this season, we're going to see it in the future because, I mean, time and time again, you've proven that you're more than a fan favorite, that you're incredibly talented in this regard. And I want to get into your new project that you've got going on where you actually have, I think from billet to blade, right?
Yeah,
that
billet to blade, yeah.
everybody who's seen you do this, they've seen your swords pass tests. You've actually got an instructional video series now about how a person at home could do the same thing, and they learn some of these tips and tricks that you're saying that have not only won you these competitions but given you like literally world renown. What's billet to blade like?
He's literally giving away his secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to beat Ben next season, pay him money to get his. Yeah.
Billet to blade is a fun project I did, and it came to me out of nowhere. So somebody just emailed me up and said, "Hey, we'd like to come down to your shop and have you make 2 knives, and we'll buy the knives from you, and then anything that we film in the process, we'll go back and we'll make it into a video, and we'll give you 25% of proceeds." And I said, "Okay."
Yeah.
So they came down and we did, the first knife was just a simple carbon steel chef's knife in sort of my style that I like to make. And so I show how to go from just a bar of steel all the way through a heat treated, finished, and ready to go chef's knife. All the steps, not skipping any. And I did that whole knife just with a hand hammer. It's like a very basic approach, hand hammer and grinder, obviously, but
Right.
no specialized tools. And then the next one is a santoku, which is a chef's knife that has kind of a drop to the front, flat bottom, and a drop to the nose. And it's in ladder pattern Damascus with what they call a wah handle, which is like this octagonal handle that kind of just slips onto the tank. So I did that one step by step as well. And so that you get a lot of tips on Damascus and layering and patterning and all sorts of other, just a completely separate kind of handle, which was a lot of fun to
Man, that's
do.
great. Damascus is so cool.
It's so
looking.
pretty.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It is.
That sounds like
I love it.
a really interesting series to watch.
And then where can we, like, so when Danley and I decide, because I don't know whether or not Ben Abbott is taking commissions.
Hold on. When I Google search, why can no one beat Ben Abbott? What link pops up?
Well, so here's the weird thing about being like, I don't know what to call it, but it's sort of my level of famous, whatever it is,
Right.
known by some. There are like YouTube videos by some like Australian dude talking about my personal life. Like,
What?
Everything. Like my ex-wife, my fiance, my baby. They know his birthday. They know everything. And then they had their goals. They halfway through, like, Ben Abbott's really careful about talking about his personal life. I'm like, but you are. Like,
Yeah. That's
yeah, they tell you. You want to know my net worth? Go check it out. It's on YouTube.
celebritynetworth.com/Ben Abbott. Fifth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's so surreal. I've like watched 2 of them.
Interesting.
It's really weird.
Yeah. Okay. So that's super bizarre. And
I would
and I don't even
hate
know.
that.
Yeah, that would suck so much.
Yeah.
But like, especially if somebody found out about the girls that I used to date and just like plastered that up, like there you go.
Or-
Like, guess what your pastor did when he was dating at 22 when he was on tour? It's like,
Dan-
this is bad news.
Danley had 5 Twinkies yesterday.
All in one sitting.
Why do you know that?
Yeah.
Why are you telling everyone?
That's crazy.
Was it 5?
Well, since you brought it up, how is your kiddo doing? I know last time we had you on, we joked about whose kiddo was the cutest. We've seen loads of pictures of Grady's baby because he posted on Instagram. You are a little bit more private, but how is your bundle of joy?
Oh, he's doing great, man. He's just over a year and a half now.
That's awesome.
He's learning words. He's just on the cusp of walking. He's like standing like one of these actions. Yeah, he's doing really well. He's such a cute and such a sweet boy. Heather was telling me that she brought him to the park and there were these 2 young girls about his age, and so he just kind of trundled over to them and sat there and then just leaned over and gave one a big old hug.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was really cute. Yeah.
Kids are fantastic. He's getting ready to have his first.
Yeah, my
his wife
first
is getting ready to have his
Right,
first.
yeah, our first
Their
is
first.
coming in October. So
Nice. That's when Alden was born.
Yeah.
October
Oh, right
25th.
on. Yeah. So right now, I think our baby is. Oh, as a matter of fact, I know our baby is the size of a Pop-Tart as of today. Right. So he's got
Very
this.
strange shape for a baby.
Right. Yeah.
What do they call Pop-Tarts in England?
Pastries.
Oh. Yeah.
No, it would have some frillier name.
Maybe, I don't know.
Lace,
But
Lacestry.
But like that, so Kirsten's got this app that like updates her on what size our baby is like last week it was an avocado.
Pop-Tart is weird.
And now it's the size of a Pop-Tart and like an onion and something else. And she was like, yeah, it's a Pop-Tart or an onion. I was like, well, one of those things sucks. So we're just going to go with Pop-Tart. But
Pop-Tart.
I hope it's not Pop-Tart shaped.
Better be strawberry.
Yeah, that's
flavored.
an odd shape.
Yeah, it would be a terrible shape for a baby. Our baby would be shaped like Strong Mad. So that would just be absolutely
Specific
ridiculous.
reference. Hopefully we threw up a picture of him.
It'd be a terrible shape for a
Ron.
baby. That makes
up the
me
work, man.
that makes me so happy. Well, this is a great lead in to, as you very well know, we end all of our interviews with a segment we call Controlled Rowdiness, which is a series of rapid-fire questions that you can answer with as short or as long an answer as you would like. There are no right answers, but there are several wrong ones, so you will want to avoid those landmines. And I'm going to toss it over to Big Dan to get us started.
I did notice you always say this, and there's a bunch of times that I say, no, this was the right answer. After you say there's no right answers.
Yes.
Okay, anyways.
Yeah.
You can make a weapon for Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, or smoke a cigar with Winston Churchill. What do you choose?
Cigar with Churchill.
I agree.
Oh, yeah.
See, right
yeah,
answer.
that's the right answer.
That's the right answer.
That's correct. If you could, you were commissioned by the Brothers Chaps to make a blade for Strong Mad. What do you make?
Oh, hammer.
Perfect.
Good. What about the cheat?
Yes, the cheat is grounded.
Yeah. He makes the cheat some armor for when Strong Bad kicks him.
Okay. You mentioned the Grady rub, the famous Grady rub. Would you rather get a Grady rub or a Dave Beard Balm back rub?
Ooh. Now, the Dave Beard Balm, is Dave applying the
Yes.
beard balm?
Yes.
With his beard.
Yeah.
And then rubbing it.
He's applying it with his beard. This got really odd.
Let him answer. Let the man think.
Or a Grady rub? Mm-hmm. Can I choose both?
Yeah.
Yes.
One is more moisturizing.
True. Yeah, I'll go with both simultaneously.
Good. Cool.
Let's
All
just
right.
live this fantasy right out.
That
Yeah,
sounds
let's
great.
do it. So a very sassy pirate has told you that he wants you to make an edible sheath for him. What flavor is it?
What flavor is the edible sheet for a sassy pirate?
Yes.
Okay, I was not prepared for this.
You have no idea how long some of these questions take to come up with.
Yeah. Rum raisin.
Rum
All right,
raisin.
yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
What's a good synonym for synonym?
Same thing. Word.
Okay, rum raisin. Would you? What would you say to a high school kid in shop class dreaming of smithing blades?
Wake up, dude.
Oh, dreaming.
Yeah, 'cause he's dreaming.
Very,
Okay.
very literal.
Yeah.
very literal.
Yeah,
man.
that makes a lot of sense.
What would I say? Like, like me now talking to them
Yep.
in shop class?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I would tell them to check with their parents and then follow their dream. Like I think it's a great thing. I'm not one of those like keep your day job kind of guys. Because I obviously did not. So I think it's great. I mean, I'd probably point them at some cool resources and go on from there.
Yeah,
great.
like from billet to blade.
I was about to say that.
From
Yeah.
billet to blade, the Ben Abbott story.
Well, that. Try to beat him. Season 12.
Here's a picture of Ben Abbott's baby billet.
Wow, didn't even think of that. That would have been great.
Well, there you go.
What's your favorite fish for our fish of the week next week?
My favorite fish.
Yeah.
Yes.
You got to pick a cool one.
Cool one. I would say like anglerfish.
That's a good one. I haven't
Ooh.
done that one yet.
Yeah, you haven't
Sweet.
done that one.
You got it.
Yep. All right. And final question. Ben Abbott, you have ended up in the hospital with a not
A sword shaped.
yeah with a sword shaped wound that was near mortally wounded, dear Patsy. And so what we need to know is we are investigating this.
Yeah.
Which bladesmith that you've beaten do we need to look at first?
Myself.
Okay, likely self-inflicted.
How would you do a
Yeah.
self-inflicted sword wound? I guess you
it's
could
easier
cut.
than you think.
All right.
Yeah, especially if they break. It can come back at you.
That would be interesting.
That sounds
especially if it's made of
terrifying.
ice. Then it melts and you never find
Then
it.
you can't. Yeah.
Is that how you? Is that
That's the perfect crime.
Stabbing yourself.
how
Ice sword.
how would you forge an ice of sword?
Sort of out of ice.
No.
What?
How would
Yes.
how would
How
you
do I-
how would you
what-
forge an ice? That's what our producer wants to
Yeah.
know.
I would forge an ice carefully.
That makes sense.
That's an acceptable
All
answer.
right,
to
make sure
the
that you
dumbest
check
question of
out
the
From
world.
Billet to Blade and Ben's new line of rum raisin sheaths for sassy pirates. Hey, tell our audience where it is that they can find you if they want to check out more of your work.
Well, I'm on Instagram, Abbott_Ben. I show up on Facebook, but I don't really check Facebook. So just mostly Instagram. I also have a website, Ash Grove Forge. When I have inventory in stock, that's where it'll go. And you can see some of my work at billettoblade.com.
There you go. And
Awesome.
the Unbeaten Ben Abbott.
Yeah.
Thanks so much
You are
for being
the
on the show, man.
The Unbeaten currently that we know of. Because
Yes.
the current season they're building.
That
we,
is
we do
correct.
not know anything about
The spoiler alert, you can't beat him, Ben Abbott.
All right, guys.
Well,
Thanks
Ben,
very much.
you're the best.
much.
Thanks, man.
Ben freaking Abbott. Dude, he is so much fun to have on the show. And
I couldn't find a place to say it, but I wanted to say, "Hey, Abbott!"
I'm so glad that Ben's our friend.
Yeah. Oh, I
That's
didn't
the-
ask him to officially be my friend.
I think that's my favorite part about everything with Ben Abbott.
Yeah, he's so cool.
He's the best. There's just no two ways about it.
He showed us around his
he's just the best.
trailer.
Showed us around his
He
trailer.
showed us his baby billet.
He literally went and like it was so unexpected and cartoony when he just gets up and all we hear in the background is tink 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 tink. It was like an actual
like-
Looney Tune scene was playing out in
it was
front
like
of us.
a Bugs Bunny went into a closet labeled swords. You just hear
There's just smoke and stuff coming over the sides, and he
Yep.
comes in. Oh, this is my little billet that I built. It was just so, and then talking about it, he's like, "No, you couldn't make a sword like this, just straight out of the box, like a magician, like a sword magician,
a magician.
a swordician." It was, it was so cool.
I love Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, and we love Ben
and
Abbott.
Ben Abbott.
Yep,
he's,
and
he's the best. He's undefeated at this current moment
Yeah.
that we know of. He's undefeated after trying it for the first time on the show.
And
I mean, a sword.
yeah, trying to make a
technically
sword.
a second time.
Yeah.
But-
so he talked about the mild steel sword that he built, but in his History Channel bio, and as he told us, like the first time he really tried to build a sword was the one that he did for the show, and now he's like, I don't even know where it is.
And he
It's
just
hanging at
perfected
producer's
it. He's
house.
one, I don't understand that.
How you can just be that good?
Yeah, just seemingly on a whim. Now, he did say that he's made knives, and
Right.
certainly he has studied metallurgy, and he's gotten to a point that he understands
Every time
it.
he says,
but still, there's a difference between practice and understanding.
whenever he says, I studied metallurgy, did you just, like, I pictured Ben Abbott
a
in
goblin.
an anime.
Yeah, as a goblin making
I
bombs.
studied metallurgy. Whoosh. I can just wait for him to, like, Naruto run off the screen or Kamehameha, a new sword. This got real
turning-
dorky.
turning iron ore into gold.
Yeah. Poof.
Yeah.
Or turning sand into a baby billet. All of those things. I do think it's really cool that he's got a whole series out right now from Billet to Blade that gives instruction on blacksmithing. That's so cool. And like I said in the interview, like the guy really doesn't have anything else to prove other than he's better than all of us.
He's the winningest guy in the world.
Yeah, like what's he's the Tom Brady of Forged in Fire.
Ooh, that's a
like,
good title.
What else do I have to
That's
prove?
a good title. That
Yeah.
should make it in the title.
Yeah, the Tom Brady of Forged in Fire.
Yeah.
Ben Abbott and his baby billet.
You can't beat him.
Yeah.
The
Just
story.
Unreal. So thanks, Ben, so much for coming on the show. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure that you check out Ben's links in the show notes. And if he's got inventory, which now they're in off season, you can actually purchase a blade that was made by the Unbeaten Ben Abbott.
And if you promise to buy two, you'll allow you to watch
to
him
come
make
in,
it.
to come in and film
Not
him.
sure.
And then
He did not
no,
say that.
No, that's awesome. And all the proceeds from the blades you buy from Ben Abbott go directly to the Ben Abbott Feed the Baby Foundation. So check that out. Make sure that you support him. Go check him out on Instagram if you want to see some of his work, and make sure that you are tuning in on Wednesday nights on the History Channel to see Forged in Fire. Thank you guys so much for watching another episode. Yes.
Lastly, if you're a YouTuber in Australia and you're talking about him, you shut your mouth.
Yeah,
Leave his kid alone.
you're on notice.
You can talk about him making swords, that's fine, but you leave his baby and his wife out of it. See you next time.
Have a good gig give.
This is Ben Abbott from Forged in Fire, and this is yet another reason you should never listen to the Reverend and Reprobate.